Hello. So, I was recently just using the internet, as you know, as one does, right? And you have to one thing that I've kind of was thinking about is how many passwords like you need to have, and how there's like the two factor authentication and things along those lines. Like it's all like, oh, you gotta authenticate yourself, do all this stuff, and then we also have things like just like AI slop and just a whole lot of like garbage content. I would just say it's a whole lot of stuff that is ultimately just it's just junk food. It's a whole lot of junk food that's on the internet right now, right? So there's all these problems. Basically, what I'm trying to say is there's a whole bunch of problems with the internet right now, and the way I'm seeing this going is that the internet is destroying itself, and in my personal opinion, we're getting to a point now where it's like, it's getting hard to know what you're looking at is real, right? And then on top of that, it's progressively getting harder and harder to keep your things secure because there's people getting better and better at hacking and decrypting and things along those lines, right? So things are becoming less and less secure on the internet, right? Like, so you have to have a password for just about every website you get onto, right? But you need to remember that password, but make sure they're different so that they don't like the data and all that stuff. Make sure you have a different password for you need a password for literally every website. It doesn't make any sense, right? And it's like, oh, we'll just have someone else store, like Google or Apple will store all of your passwords for you and it'll keep it extra secure. If a password is like, I think we need something different. I don't think that's gonna work, right? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is this is kind of just me ranting because I'm very upset about this because it's so annoying how every website requires this whole process for me to log into. Like, I don't care about this random random website. Like, no one cares about my profile on this random website. Like, it doesn't need to be this secure. I don't know. There's just, and like the fact that like if my password's not secure, like, oh, you didn't include enough of these things, right? Your password's not secure. We're gonna do a two-factor authentication, right? What's the point of the password? Like, I almost feel like, what's the point of even having a password at this point? But I'm just ranting here. I think we need a better system for that. But I personally feel like the internet is kind of killing itself, right? It's eating itself alive, which is kind of funny because it has good symbology back to the Ouroboros, which in my opinion is a good symbology for just life in general. So on one hand, like, it's like, I don't know, it's eating itself, but at the same time, like, I feel like that's just the inevitable expectation. So what I'm trying to say is that the current state of the internet is basically a wasteland. And I think that, or at least, I mean, it's not yet, but that's where it's heading, right? And it's the kind of thing where it's like, oh, we should have taken like climate change and climate action. Like, we should have been addressing that years ago. At this point, it's probably too late. I'm going to be honest, like, oh, everyone says, oh, like there's the deniers out there and people say, oh, we really need to start changing things before it's too late. I think it's too late. I think we missed the mark. And it doesn't seem like anyone cares anyway, right? We're still just as gung-ho on oil anyway. So I'm pretty sure we missed the mark on that. But the whole thing is that the connection I'm trying to make here is that I think we're past the point of no return when it comes to the internet. And so what we pretty much need to do is build an internet 2.0 that is separated from, right? Like, you can keep your slop, you can keep your wasteland over there, you can do whatever you want on there, right? We can keep Instagram and all that stuff all over on that side, like TikTok, everything like that. That can all stay on the wasteland internet. But I think we need to make a secondary system that's more academic in nature, right? It's a little bit more open and available. Like, I want it to be a public library that everyone has access to, and there's no paywalls, right? Because one of my other big issues is that all of the academic papers and research and all that stuff is behind paywalls that no one wants to pay for. And maybe it's not that much money and they need the money to keep things going, but it really does discourage a lot of people from pursuing these things. And so what I really want to try and do is make some kind of platform, right, where you can publish papers, right? And you can put your word out there potentially. And my biggest concern, I don't have this all fleshed out, right? Because the thing is, my biggest concern with this is like, okay, we're going to make it better, right? And then the question is, how do you do quality control, right? How do you decide what is and isn't, slop, right? Like, how do you decide what is an academic paper and what isn't? And the only thing I can think is that, you just base it off of foot traffic, right? And you gotta just make it so you say, okay, so you can put your paper on here, right? You put it into a topic, right? And if people, read it, right? And then they can rate it. Is this slop? Is this not slop? And then we could potentially have some auditors just to double check to make sure there's not any bad actors out there trying to, do that. I don't know. There's a whole lot of checks and balances with this that would have to be in place. But my main goal, the thing I want to try and do is create some kind of space that is focused on a free exchange of knowledge and information, as well as a place that's accessible by all for that information, right? So people can put their information out there, what their ideas are out there, right? And then other people can also come there to find information, right? And how it all works, I don't know. But what I do have is an idea for a name, right? So that's 50% of the work. And there's definitely a whole lot that goes into this that would have to be figured out. But I think just putting an idea out there is a good step. You got to start somewhere. So what I have is slap. 1 second. All right. So the reason why we're going with slap is because it's catchy, right? Right? It's like, oh, just slap it, right? Put it on slap, right? So those are just some terms that people could potentially say, right? It's I don't know. I don't know if this is copyrighted, if that would be an issue, but this is what I'm thinking, right? I think it's great, right? And so it's an acronym though. So I pretty much wrote slap because I thought slap sounded cool, and then I figured out what it could be, and it just kind of worked well, right? So I have science, literature, and academic philosophy. So does that cover everything? I don't know. I feel like it covers a good amount of stuff though. What do I mean by academic philosophy? I don't know. It just worked. All right. So if we could come up with a better acronym or better meanings for those letters, that's fine. But I feel like we covered most of our bases. And maybe we get rid of the and we just say science, literature, academia, philosophy, something along those lines. I don't know, right? But it would just be a space where I have, because one thing that I've kind of seen is that, like I said, I'm kind of discouraged from writing a paper for myself because one, who cares? And two, there's just a whole lot of papers that are getting written. And I feel like I don't maybe they're really thinking hard about this, but I feel like they're just writing papers to write papers. And if that's your motivation, right, then, you're putting junk out there, right? So that no one can find the real treasures. I don't like that. I don't like that it's all, oh, well, we got to write papers because papers is how we get paid. So this is where you would go, you're not going to get money, right? There would be no ads on this. There'd be no money for this. This is just a public space that people can publish their papers on, put their papers out there so that it's freely accessible by everyone, and you can get your stuff out there. You can get it spread to the public without having to go through potentially rounds and rounds of editing and I don't really know, but I'm pretty sure there's some politics involved almost with getting your papers published and stuff. I don't like this. I feel like this is very limiting. It's very restricting, and it also limits, if we have people saying, oh, well, this paper doesn't, I don't really know what the checks and balances are. I don't know what's going on with it, right? I don't know exactly how we would make this work. However, I think it could be a fun and cool idea. It kind of goes, I don't know if I ever talked about this, but I might have mentioned it, but I have an idea for like, call it the fridge or something like that, which would maybe be like a subsection of this, or it would be like another thing like this, which I wanted to be basically like, kind of like any other social media app, except again, I don't want ads on there. Like, I just, like, I know that like, oh, you like, they use the ads to make revenue, but like ideally this is a nonprofit business thing, because I just want people to be able to share information and share their art. Like, I don't want this to be, this is not about making money. This is about bettering the world. Like, we're doing this for the greater good, right? Because I do think a lot of good can come from this. But the whole fridge idea, if I haven't talked about it, I'll just talk about it now since I'm talking about this, just in case. And because, you know, like, I don't know if this is common for everyone, but, you know, it's like when you're a little kid, like, your parents are like, oh, that's a nice drawing, let's put it on the fridge, right? So my idea for this was basically like, you could like scroll through, you know, the feed or whatever, and if you like a piece of, like, you like an artwork or something like that, then you could put it on your fridge, and that's you basically giving it a like, right? So if you like it, it's got to go on your fridge, right? If you don't want to put it on your fridge, you don't like it enough, right? So if a bunch of people put it on their fridge, it's probably good, right? But obviously with that, like, I don't know, because I feel like it'd be like, okay, so you got to put something on your fridge, right? But that means you got to take something off the fridge to make room. So I like the whole, how it will work and everything, I'm not totally certain, right? But the more people that put it on the fridge, the more it gets promoted to other people, right? And then, I don't know, maybe we could do like some kind of awards or something like that. It's tough. Like, I feel like we could be like, oh, you know, you had like 1 million people put this on your fridge. That puts you into the running for potentially some kind of award at the end of the year or something. I don't really know, right? But I feel like it'd be really great to try and encourage people to make their art, make it easily accessible, and put it out there so that it's found by other people, right? And it's just, you know, I don't know. I just think it would be cool. Right, so these are my ideas, and I'm putting them out there because I don't have the manpower or the know-how to do these things. But if someone else can do it, then that's great, right? So that's why, you know, I'm putting these out here. These are my ideas. These are things that I think would be great to have. So, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say with this one. Basically, I think we need an Internet 2.0 that is a little bit more reserved. Like, we need to refine, you know, we need to filter out like the garbage and keep and keep it neat and organized. I want this to be like a mixture of a global art gallery / museum, and also a global library / college. Like, ideally at some point, like, if you wanted to, like, the long-term goals of this is like, if you wanted to, like, academia is just free, right? If you want to learn something, all you have to do is start looking into it. And that's the long-term goals of this. Like, I want it to be so that, like, you don't have to go to college to become a physicist, right? You can become a physicist by learning online, right? And then you start writing papers, and then as you get your papers published, right? Now, like, okay, someone has to read these papers, someone has to review these papers and stuff. You need to know what they're talking about, right? To get these papers published, right? And then, like, there's, like, I don't know, progressions to it, right? And then eventually we could have, like, internships and, you know, like, mini programs where people come in and they get some training and get some field experience, some lab experience, things along those lines. And it's all just a part of you know, just some kind of like nonprofit organization thing, where we're doing this because we want to improve the quality of life for everyone in the world. It's not just, you know, it's not about what we're building. It's about what the people we are building up will build, right? We're planning for the future here, because if all we're doing is focusing on us and what we're benefiting, then the people in the future are going to suffer. We need to focus on how the future is going to benefit, because That's what's gonna last, right? Now is only right now. The future is potentially forever. We need to plan accordingly, and we have not been doing that. And I don't understand how we can be so dumb, but a lot of people just don't care is the answer. They just don't care, and it's sad. Um, but hopefully we can do better. Again, I don't have all the answers on this. This is the kind of thing, like, I'm just pitching an idea here, right? I'm just pitching my idea to the board, right? And then the board can let me know if it needs work, or if it's just a terrible idea. It might be a little bit too ideal or idealized, and it's not based enough in reality. Maybe so. But I think if we really wanted to, it could be done. One thing I thought about logistics wise is that if everyone in the world, right, how large of an organization this would have to be if everyone in the world is getting internships and programs and stuff to learn, right? That's a lot of people to be managing and organizing and stuff. The thing is, though, is that we have things like AI now, which could potentially really streamline that process. But I don't know, right? Like, I'm no AI expert, so I don't know. But there's ways we can use AI that can benefit the entire world. And instead we're using it to make stupid videos about stupid, it's just such an insult to the capabilities. It's just actually so insulting to use it in such a silly manner. But the future could look very bright. We just we just got to start lighting the fire, right? We're living in darkness because we don't feel like putting the effort towards lighting the flame. And that's just so ridiculous, right? It's like, oh, well, if I light the fire, then I got to tend to it. Oh, that's not fair for me. It's like, what else you do? What are you going to do in the dark? Like, what are you doing? You can't see anything. You're not going anywhere. At least if you light the fire, you can do stuff, right? Like, I don't know. That's just me. Maybe that's just me. But I feel like that makes sense. I feel like that's reasonable, right? I feel like I'm being reasonable here. So now I'm going to stop talking. That's my rant. So cheers to that. A bit of tea. Okay. Peace out.